One man, one pile of leaves. An equalizer is needed.
I was going to be doing a review of my Ego backpack blower. Stay tuned.
If you like my content, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check the notifications bell, and always leave a comment in the comment section.
Blower does have the power to move quite a bit of leaves at one time. The Ego blower did have quite a bit of power for the big piles of leaves. Those leaves that had piled up had been blown over into the corner. I had pulled them out of the corner and we put them in a big pile so that we could rake them up. When I was in the leaves, it was a trick to figure out how to get it away from the fence. That was about the only problem I was having, was trying to get it in those tight places. I did notice that with this backpack on back here, if I tried to walk up and turn up in that space, it was affecting me because it was hitting in my back and I couldn't wedge myself up and in there. We ended up grabbing a rake, pulling it away, and then it was able just to blow it out really easily. So it wasn't a big deal there. These leaves were not wet. They have not been hit by any moisture. It just was a huge amount of leaves. And they have this pine tree that's really big and it drops some of its pine needles during the end of the season. And I'm over here just ahead and seeing if it will get these pine needles out of the grass because it's a hard rake. And so I just figured that if it has power to do something, this is what it will show its power on, these pine needles. This blower did have enough power to blow out those little pine needles that were stuck down and in the ground. All I had to do was use the turbo mode here up on the top. It definitely did a good job. Pine needles fall and they get down in between the grass blades and they're a little bit difficult to rake out because they fall in vertically versus laying on top horizontally, and so it made it a little bit difficult, and this did pull out a good majority of them. There were only a few that were left over that I had to rake out, but overall this did an extremely good job. I've had some people comment saying that the low setting on this is pretty low, but this is where I think it comes in really handy. What it does is it gets rid of the leaves that are stuck on top of the mulch, where a lot of wind would be blowing all my mulch out versus just blowing the leaves right off the top, but great use for it. So what I use it for. Sometimes you'll see people use their blowers to blow the leaves that are still stuck on the trees off their trees. Let's see if this has the power to do it. Crank her up to high, give her a turbo blow. Pretty effective. The battery life lasted me about 28 minutes with intermittent use of turbo in between mid to high mode. At 28 minutes, I was able to get all the leaves rounded up and pushed into the area where I wanted them before we needed to pick them up. That was on my 5-volt battery using the turbo mode. The thing I do notice about it though is that because make her green. The thing I do notice that when this battery is done, with this, it actually still has quite a bit of charge left that I can use it in other tools for a little while. I guess this has a lot of power that it's drawing off of that battery, so it doesn't completely drain it all the way. No, you're good, totally fine. You're in a car, I'm just playing with the camera. So that was one of those things that I noticed, that battery life just didn't last as long because of it wasn't able to use it all. It couldn't get enough punch power right at the end. But 28 minutes of continuous runtime of blowing and moving stuff, I found that to be pretty adequate and sufficient for that need. I do have the 2.5 battery from my Edger, and it actually stepped up and filled in a couple of little gaps that I had left right at the end when it died. See if it worked in the backpack blower. The nice thing about a backpack blower versus a handheld is that my arm doesn't feel any kind of weight here. I can hold this basically with one finger. It's not that much weight. So when it comes down to it, my arms aren't getting tired using this because their weight isn't on my arms, it is on my back, it's on my shoulders, it's in this backpack. The backpack is about 20 pounds, so it doesn't get tiresome to have it on. It's like having a school backpack on, is what I attribute it to. You just look like a sweet Ghostbuster, and people will go ahead and say that to you quite a bit. It's fine, it's all right. Is it a professional grade? No, don't get it twisted. Don't think that you're going to be buying something that's professional grade at this level. Is it a great, solid homeowner grade? Oh yes, I do recommend it. The Eagle backpack blower is an amazing blower, and it does hold up to leaves really well. I was able to put them in piles, I was able to move them around, no problem. One of the biggest downfalls that I do not like about this backpack is that to put this away, literally you have to take it off, you have to swing it around, find out where it goes, see how amazing this is, and hit this little teeny tiny piece right here. See, now it's on after all that fight. So now for me to grab it, it's one of the biggest things. You have to take it off, you have to pull the handle down. See, it's not easy. You have to figure out how it slides back off. And I'm not exaggerating this. So what you're doing is you're hitting this little pin right here with this little notch right here. So you're sliding it up and in to pin it in, and you have to slide it out. And obviously that system doesn't work very well at all. Even as a storage mode, it becomes kind of cumbersome. It's not a real easy option to store it. I don't know if they make this, but one of the things that I would have liked to see, instead of having a round hole like this, is to have it flat and kind of flared, so that when I'm blowing the leaves, it blows it more as a push wave versus just kind of this one little push area. So it kind of makes it very directional. It doesn't help with any kind of wave of air. It just kind of hits it right here at the end and pushes it. Even when you get it a little distance out, it doesn't open up the space. I don't know if they build anything for it, but I did notice that it did take a little bit longer because it wasn't pushing a huge amount of leaves across the spectrum because of how narrow this was. For this week's question, I'd like you guys to tell me what you guys use your blowers for. I know that people use them for leaves. I normally use them for my edge cleanup, my mowing cleanup, those types of things. But what other things have you found use for your blowers? Which blower style do you prefer? Do you prefer the backpack blower, or do you just prefer the straight up handheld blower? Let me know in the comments below. For a homeowner, if you're looking for a good leaf blower, I would look at the Egos, either the handheld or the backpack. I'm Jeremy of the Greener Lawn. Make her green.